I'm Patrick Bailey with IQlist.com. Today is February 3rd, 2018. And this video is kind of a follow-up to my last video where I put together the Prusa 3D i3 MK3 printer, and now I broke it. But first of all, it's actually been really good. So we've printed out some cool stuff. So I printed out this little thing for my daughter, and you can see it did a real good job. This is for her Zoom, guys. I found this on Thingiverse. Printed it out. It's pretty cool. She likes it. I also printed out some simpler stuff. I found our neighbors have a corgi, so not a corgi, Scotty. So I found a little Scotty thing we printed out, and I printed out a heart, which printed out really well. But my wife gave that to some doctors at a hospital, so they have it now, so I don't have to show off. But it printed really well. Something else I printed that I was working on here is a nut, and it printed the screw really well. So there's a lot of little interesting things that printed.
You mean the threading?
Threading. Sorry, the threading printed really well. So I'm still learning some stuff, but things were going fairly well. Then all of a sudden, it started printing a little unideally. Unevenly. And so it did things. I don't know if I can show this. I was trying to. This is something where I was testing how to print the Z layer correctly, the first layer. And usually this should be flat and very well organized and thin. But this is all, it kind of spaces things out. It's got clumps and things.
Can you show the flat version? Like, no.
Do I have one?
No.
Well,
you can see it. You just need to hold it the right way, like that.
Well, it should be,
Like that.
Well, like a flat version should be flat like that. You can see how.
Or show the plane.
I don't know, like.
Okay, you hold it still. I'll move the camera.
Okay. So it should be nice like that.
Ah, there you go. Okay.
I think my daughter got a hold of my other examples.
Okay.
That were this big circle.
Okay.
But all of a sudden it started printing out strange like that. I think I've got another one over here. You know, all of a sudden it even got like this, where it's really messing things up. And so I was trying to investigate what was going on. Also, I got another good example where, here is a good example. And then here's the same one I printed. And you can see it's got, all this weirdness going on. And like the stuff's not coming out and even. So I'm still learning, so I'm not exactly sure what the culprit was. But my feeling was, looking around and trying to understand and learn, my guess was, I think the Z-axis level was fine. The first layer adjustment was fine, but I think it was coming out uneven. And I was trying to figure out why. So my first thoughts were that the nozzle had gotten, and here I happen to have taken the nozzle out, that the nozzle had gotten clogged or messed up. And so they give you some things where you can deal with that. So he actually gives you, luckily, mine got a little bent because I've been using it so much, an acupuncture needle. And mine's bent. But it worked perfectly because you get it hot, you get the 3D printer hot. And then there's some instructions on there. Then you can stick this in there and clean it out. So I did a few things like that, but it still wasn't working quite correctly. And so my next step was to try to figure out how to take the thing apart, to kind of service it. Well, I learned a couple of things. And as you can see, I have the whole thing really apart right now because I have broken it. And one piece that I definitely did break, and I need to learn all the names for this. But here I don't know what they call this, the heat core. I just don't have a website in front of me. But here's where you get hot, right? And after taking this apart and fiddling with it, what happens is if you see the red cord coming in here, it goes into this heat block, into this block of metal. And that's actually what gets hot. And in fact, mine's a little, I can't take it apart because it seems to be a little tiny bit stripped. But if I could remove this nut, you would see that would expand a little bit out, and I could probably pull that whole thing out and replace it. Now,
you need to point with a pointy object and
not my finger.
Not your finger.
Yeah, what happened to my pencil? Well, I'll use this. Okay, for the heat block, what we can see right here is these two wires come in here. This is the heating element.
No, I can't see your nut till Tilt it towards me. There we go.
This 2 wires come in here is the heating element. And here's a circle. There's a cylinder that goes all the way through here to the other side. And you can see here's the other side. Now this you can remove from here. So mine I can't, but because this nut is not working with me very well. But if I could take this out, that could expand a little bit, and then I could pull that guy out and replace him, right? But what you also have, and this is where I goobered things up, but also it's also part of they probably need a better design for this heat block. And that's not on Prusa. This is how I think everyone does, as far as I can tell in my newness to all this, is there's another hole in here. And so you can see here's this other hole right here on the other side. And what that is that's where they put the thermistor. So the thermistor, and I don't have the other end to it because it's upstairs somewhere, or lost, or broken off. I think it's upstairs. But there's another cylinder that goes in here. And normally these 2 wires are connecting it. And that checks the temperature. And so that monitors the temperature. Now, one thing that you'll find as I learned this, I think you'll have to do from time to time is, you can see this is normally the bottom. And normally I have this is normally in here, this head, the nozzle. But from time to time, you may have to remove the nozzle and replace it or clean it out or who knows what. Or if you have some kind of abrasive material in there, it could wear the nozzle out and make the hole at the end wider and the stuff come out wrong. So I was working from the theory that maybe my nozzle was messed up, I'll go buy a new one and replace it. So what you have to do is you can take a 7mm socket, which is the exact size of this. And usually, from what I've seen, you have to actually get this hot. Otherwise, it's too impossible to move. So you have to get this hot, and then you go on underneath there, and then you have to hold this block so it doesn't move, and then take it off. So you do some kind of move. You do some kind of move like this. Get underneath there and take it off. But you have to hold this guy. And so I did that successfully a couple of times with something like this, or a wrench or something like that. But you got to be careful how you're grabbing. And so I wasn't paying attention, and I grabbed up the front here near these wires for the thermistor. And when I did that, I cut the wires. And when I cut the wires, luckily they programmed this really well. All of a sudden, they weren't getting the correct thermistor readings or at all. And the software basically thought it was 1,000 degrees Celsius and basically freaked out and shut down, or started warning me and yelling at me. So good coding, because that would be a bad thing. But I broke it. But I also learned a lot. I learned how to take these off and move all this stuff and what parts are in here. Because above, here's the part that actually goes above here and screws in there. And, there's all these parts. So I'm still learning, but I know how to take it apart better now. Which I realized I was probably going to have to service it some after a while, but I didn't plan on servicing it so quickly, right? I was hoping to get, I don't know, maybe I was being naive, hoping I was getting a few months of prints out before I had to do much work. Maybe that's the case. Maybe I'm just unlucky because I'm dumb and I cut it. But anyway, so now I have to go get a replacement thermistor. This part is fine, but I just need to get a replacement wire and a thermistor, which I tried to go do on their site. But when I first went on their site, there was an issue where I couldn't see stuff. And so I'm going to kind of go over that now and show you that I actually had to go talk to them to reset my settings so I could actually see what I needed to order. Okay, so now I wanted to go and actually order the part that I had broken from Prusa, just to make sure I get the exact same part and don't want to have to worry about it. But I ran into an issue, so I'm kind of simulating the issue here right now. So I went to their site, and I tried to find a thermistor. So I went to 3D printer parts, and I saw electronics, which didn't have much. I searched for thermistor, and the only thing that came up was this one that is out of stock, and it doesn't look quite like the right one. It looks close, but it's a little different. It's a little slightly different. Could be the right one. But anyway, I couldn't find a bunch of parts. And so I got a little confused. So what I did is started talking to them, which they are really nice. You go down here and click and start doing a live chat with them. And they're very I've done that a few times. They're very, very helpful. And it turns out some setting in my personal account with them wasn't quite set up right. I don't know what they do, but here it is where it should work. So if you go to 3D printers when it's set up correctly, you should see more than just electronics. You'll see MK2 spare parts and MK3 printer parts. And I'm not sure what they do. That maybe they do it where they know what printers they think you own, and so that they can show you just the parts you need, because they do have different printers. But I don't know. But I had to ask them to get that reset to even see this, because I was seeing nothing. And if you have that same experience, just go talk to them and get it fixed. It's a little confusing. But anyway, so click on MK3 printer parts in their shop. And down here, I should have a thermistor somewhere. There we go, hot end thermistor. So this looks right. And although I couldn't show it downstairs because I don't know where I've lost it, but there's that little head. There's that cylindrical head that goes into there that I broke off. So this is what I'm going to need. So I'm going to order this and probably order a few other parts depending on the price to see what I can replace. And it's probably good to have a few things lying around. Like I might buy, this hot end and a heat sink and different things. Also, now that I've opened this up, I can finally see the powder coated steel sheet. So there was that steel sheet that they said that I didn't get the textured. It didn't come with the texture because there was a problem with the processing, so they just gave me a regular one, which I think they might have given me the glossy or the smooth. I don't know which one they gave me. But now I can see the textured one. So I'd like to order that because that textured look is kind of nice sometimes. And also that these are supposedly only good for so many prints. I don't know what that number would be. But at least now I can see all this stuff. And I was really confused that I couldn't see it before. Cool. I may also order some other print heads, so we'll see. But let me go get those ordered, get those going, and then hopefully I can get them in here and actually get this repaired that I took apart. I guess you know how it is. You try to fix one thing and you break another, and because you have to fiddle with it. But I like to fiddle. But I'll get these parts ordered, get them in, and hopefully my next video is me actually using this printer again, all fixed up. So we'll see. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give it a like. To subscribe, just click the subscribe button. Also, you can follow us on Twitter under the handle @myiqless, or check out our blog at www.iqless.com.